everyone, to another episode of a hope-filled highlight. I host hopeful conversations with beautiful healing souls to help you find solutions to issues around divorce, parental alienation, parenting, high conflict relationships, and trauma. All of these conversations unfold through a solution-focused and healing lens. I am Barbara Pointe, and I hope this episode helps you to expand your consciousness. So delighted to be sitting down today with Kim Keene. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Good. So pleased. I'm going to give you a little intro. So here we go. Today, Kim and I are going to discuss girl empowerment. Kim is a coach who offers a successful girl empowerment program called Girl Talk. The program focuses on building positive self-esteem, managing anxiety, social media, boundaries, bullying, and so much more. In this moment, I honestly, Kim, can't think of anything more relevant and more beautiful and hopeful than raising strong, empowered girls. And as a mother of two daughters, I just saw your program and your coaching offerings, and I was like, super excited to connect with you.
Yes, likewise. I also am a mom of two daughters, but I was that girl growing up that desperately needed a Girl Talk program. I was in Girl Scouts, but it just, this is more like, they don't know it, but it's more like life coaching for kids. And so I didn't have something like that and really could have used it.
Yeah, it's so important because girls, first of all, girl empowerment is it's just really relevant. It's really important, and girls need a lot of support. Like anxiety is such a huge issue in society, modern society for girls.
Yes. And I think for boys too. But since I grew up as that girl who was struggling with needing some guidance, I figured girls will probably relate to me a little bit more than the boys. But I've had parents of young boys say, would you ever do like a program for boys? And the answer is yes. But I just don't know that the boys would be so on board for that. So we'll see.
Yeah, I totally hear you. I love boys too, and I raised a son, and I love boys too. And I know a coach who offers a emotional intelligence program for boys, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But you offer a program for girls. So today it's all about girl talk
Yes.
and girl empowerment. And I was wondering if we could start off with a really big question. Kim,
Sure.
what is empowerment? I'll love to just like narrow in on like what's empowerment?
Yeah, I think for me, empowerment is what I try to instill in the girls that I work with is that empowerment really is about owning your truth and being able to speak up for yourself without feeling bad about that. And being able to realize if you need help or you don't need help and what kind of help that you need. So it's really just about owning yourself and really and getting what you need, getting your needs met on your own. And then anything outside of that is an added bonus.
That's beautiful to have your needs met. Self advocacy for teens. That's very, very cool. Why would that kind of empowerment be so important for girls? Like, for example, yeah, that's my question. I won't
Yeah.
double say the question.
Yeah, no worries. I think it's important because oftentimes girls are conditioned or raised to feel like they need to put other people's needs first, or that it's not okay to ask for what they need. And that if we do, then we're seen as needy, we're seen as helpless, we're seen as insecure. And so we're taught, it's kind of like the Disney princess thing. It's like we're taught that we need someone to come and rescue us. We need this knight in shining armor, this prince. And so it's really helping girls to understand that you actually don't need someone to rescue you. You can actually help yourself.
Whoa, deep breath there, because I just literally felt that hit me right here because we can't underestimate that. I would say what you just said is so important because I work with women and I am a woman, and we are so deeply conditioned to think that our prince is coming, someone's going to rescue us. I still struggle with that thought. I have consciousness around it, but I'm still waiting for that prince that that king to come and save the day. And I also see that in my practice with women who are leaving abusive relationships or
Yes.
relationships where they're not living in their truth, not owning their own needs. So that's really like how beautiful that you're dealing with that at a girl stage of life.
Yes, and because I was that girl. I felt like in order for me to be of value or to be loved or to be seen as worthy, I needed a boyfriend. So when the first boy came knocking on the door, second actually, but the first one was also not a healthy relationship. The second one was just a longer period of time with my high school boyfriend. It was an abusive relationship on all levels: physical, verbal, mental, emotional. And I stayed for 5.5 years. And I stayed for a lot of reasons. Um, but I don't want girls to end up in that situation because they feel like they need someone else to love them first before they can love themselves. I want them to know it's actually the opposite.
Wow. Yeah, that's very meaningful work. And it is the opposite. Um, what kind of interesting experiences do you have when you work with girls? Is there like a memory in your program that stands out where a young girl, really received something you were offering, or you felt like a shift in a girl's mindset or embodiment?
Yes. So the first memory that comes to mind is one of my third grade girls. She does the virtual offerings of Girl Talk. And we were on the lesson of self esteem, and she had shared very openly and honestly with the group that she sometimes calls herself fat. And so, I started asking her questions to gather information about why she would think that. What would have her say that to herself? And none of the answers that she could give really made sense in my mind. So it was, has someone said that to you at school? No, she says with a cute little smile on her face. And she's got these cute round apple cheeks. So I was like, is it because you have a cute round face? No, she says with a smile on her face. And then she said, well, I guess it's because so and so at school has more friends than me. So there really wasn't a logical connection between someone having more friends at school than her, and then for her that to equate that she was fat. So I reached out to mom afterwards and said, I just wanted to share with you what was shared in this session. Mom thanked me, and it actually was because this little girl overheard a comment at the pediatrician. So the pediatrician said to mom in front of her, based on her weight and her height on the growth scale, she's teetering between being overweight and I guess obese or something, which is crazy to me because this little girl doesn't even look remotely overweight. So, but she heard this. And so she's very aware, very perceptive, and she internalized that. Like, if it says it on this doctor, on this piece of paper from the doctor, it must be true. That means I'm fat. So I offered mom, would you be open to me working with her for a one-on-one session just to break through some of those beliefs? And mom said, yes, absolutely. So we got on another call, just the two of us, and we did a reframing exercise. And whether it's working with adults or working with children, it's the same visual because it's a great visual. So our belief is the tabletop, and then the things that support that belief are the legs of the table. So the more legs your table has, the stronger your table is. So I asked her, okay, if this is your belief that you're fat, here's your tabletop. And we were on Zoom. So I did a screen share and I used the whiteboard in Zoom. I said, so what are your table legs that say that you're fat? And she only had maybe 3. So the table wasn't that strong to begin with. And I said, well, instead of feeling like you're fat, what would you like to feel instead? And she said, I'd like to believe that I'm healthy. And I was like, that's amazing. What a beautiful belief. So we said, okay, we're going to break down all those table legs for the belief of fat, and we're going to build a new table. So we drew a new table for the belief of being healthy. And she had about 10 different table legs for why she was actually healthy. And her little face just lit up and she said, "I see it, Miss Kim. I see it. I'm not really fat. I'm actually really healthy." And so mom emailed me later that night and said she asked to print the tabletop pictures off, and she was telling me all about it. And she said she understood how her table for being healthy is so much stronger for her table than being fat.
That's a beautiful, beautiful shift, a beautiful internal shift that you guided her through. Also a testament to coaching. But imagine, and I don't want to imagine, but she could have potentially carried that limiting belief her entire life.
Yes.
Very common one too for girls and women to feel that they're not enough, that they're fat.
Yes,
So,
very much
so
so.
that's very cool intervention. Thank you for sharing that. Hmm. I love looking up words, so I did look up empowerment. I just wanted to share as you empowered that girl through that internal shift. That empowerment in the dictionary just means authority or power given to someone or something, and so to claim that empowerment for self, and it's the process also of becoming stronger and more confident, especially in controlling one's life or claiming one's rights. So it's just a simple little definition, but the stronger and confident part in this dictionary reference is interesting. Do you find girls come out stronger and more confident as a outcome in your program?
Oh, absolutely, because we really dig deep into the reasons that they don't feel strong, like, and why they don't feel confident. And a lot of times it's because someone has said they're not good at softball in gym class or kickball or whatever it is, or they compare themselves to the girls they see on TV. And it blows my mind, but a lot of them are on social media at 9 years old, 10 years old, 11 years old, and they have TikTok accounts, they have Instagram accounts. And so they're seeing other girls on social media and they're doing that self comparison. So they think, oh, well, her house is nicer than mine, or she got to go on a shopping spree. And also, they watch YouTube Kids. So there's a lot on YouTube where it's like, oh, we're doing a birthday unboxing. And it seems like the parent took these children for this huge $5,000 shopping spree. But what the kids don't realize is that those are actually influencers on social media. So a company is giving them those gifts, or they're giving them money to go buy certain things at the mall, and then it's a sponsorship. So the girls aren't recognizing that. So helping them to see through all of that and helping them to see what's real and what's a highlight reel, it gives them the understanding that they're actually just like every other little girl.
Oh, wow. That's something I hadn't thought of. But just, yeah, just to make that clarifying that there's so much pressure with social media.
Hmm.
That's that's pretty neat. Hmm. So, Kim, this is a good time for me to ask you because I noticed that your program also encourages critical thinking in adolescent girls, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. Why is that important for girls?
Yes. Well, I'm a former classroom teacher, so I taught kindergarten for 6 years, and I taught fourth grade for one. I've also taught at a local university graduate level students. So for me, critical thinking is huge. I mean, that's really where the learning takes place. If you're not developing the thoughts for yourself, and you're just having someone stand there and tell you, and you're just listening, kind of like a little sponge, but you're not actually doing anything to develop your own thoughts, your own opinions, then it's not real learning. It's not going to be lasting. It's going to be fleeting. Just kind of like cramming for a test. You push in all of this knowledge in a very superficial way. You take the test and then you forget it all. I want them to actually work with the concepts and develop their own thoughts for the concepts and really think through, because then they're owning that. They're owning that knowledge, they're owning that information, and they're owning the ability that they can process through things, and they don't need someone else to say, oh my gosh, this is happening, so this is what you do. I want them to say, okay, this is happening, and I know that I can do this, or this, or maybe I don't know what to do right now, but I know how to get to an answer, whether that's ask someone for help, journal, meditate, whatever the case may be. I want them to know that they actually have the ability to think through whatever comes their way.
Yeah, I love that. It so resonates with me. I think critical thinking is probably the most important fundamental skill young people, boys and girls, can have.
Yes, absolutely.
I noticed that you mentioned that you give them some strategies like meditation and journaling, and those are beautiful mindful strategies. Let's focus in, if you agree, on journaling, because
Sure.
why might journaling, or what are some of the beautiful possibilities in journaling for girls?
Yes. So in my own journey, journaling has been so helpful because it allows you to get a thought out on it to the paper. It allows you another, you can get it out of your head because sometimes if we don't get the thought out, we continue to ruminate on it over and over and over, and it just makes the situation feel that much heavier or that much more impossible. But if we can actually get the thought out onto a piece of paper, it gives us sort of the freedom to look at it with a new lens, so to speak, a different perspective. And so it's sometimes easier to process through whatever it is that we're struggling with. Plus, it's just a release. We can put it out on the paper and we don't have to carry that internally with us anymore.
Yeah, that's really nice. Do they also get to draw in their journals?
Yes. So because I work with girls in first grade through sixth grade, sometimes my first graders aren't able to write out sentences. And sometimes my older girls just would much rather draw. So I give them an option for how they want to document their thoughts during our time together. You can either write it out or you can draw, whatever you prefer. And it's amazing to see some of the drawings that they come up with for taking notes of what we're talking about and the thoughts that they have around the concepts. I'm always blown away. And sometimes they'll say, "Oh, I'm not a good artist." But when I see their work, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you're an amazing artist. Look at this beautiful piece of art that you created." So trying to help them flip the script also of how they talk about themselves is also part of it.
Oh, that's fabulous. That's so good. Flipping the script for young girls. I
Yeah.
can tell you're an excellent, excellent coach.
Oh, thank you.
Um, let's talk about personal identity and navigating that for young girls as they're forming their identity into adulthood.
Yes. I think it's easy to get lost in doing what the group is doing. It's hard for us, even as adults, sometimes to march to the beat of our own drum because we're worried about what other people are going to think or say, or there's that possibility for criticism or rejection. But then when we do that, we dim our light and we're not giving anyone the gift of who we truly are. So I really want the girls to understand that it's perfectly acceptable that I am not the same as you, Barbara, and you're not the same as me. And no, we're all not the same because if we were, life would be really boring, as would the entire human species. So it's really important to celebrate our differences and value each other because it means that I have strengths that someone else might not have, and vice versa. But we can also complement where those weaknesses might be. So something that isn't my strength and someone else has that strength, it brings us together because we can work together in a way that maybe we weren't aware of to begin with.
I like that so much, Kim. I'm an observer of human psychology, and sometimes it amazes me when I go out in my community. I've actually encountered, as a grown woman, uh, bullies.
Yes.
And I was in a very public position once, and there was a woman who was intentionally trying to intimidate me. And I thought to myself, wow, she's like my peer, but she's a bully.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's go back down to like how bullying might show up in an adolescent timeline.
Yeah. So it shows up in all sorts of ways. It shows up with saying mean things, uh, exclusion, isolation. It shows up with unkind words. It shows up sometimes with the bully physically harming the person that's being bullied. And it can be a very complex dynamic. And nowadays with technology, it even happens on technology with cell phones, on social media, in group chats. So there are so many different ways now that children have access to bully each other, far different from when I was going to school. When I was in school, the bullying happened on the playground. but we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have instant messenger or social media chat rooms. And I think on some level that the digital piece gives students some anonymity and being anonymous or not
Mhm.
having to necessarily, they don't understand that it's the same impact. It gives them sort of a little bit of distance. So sometimes even as adults, we'll say things to people online that we would never dream of saying to them face to face because we have that screen between us.
So true. So true. It is so much more complex.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We Bullying is such an important issue. I'm glad to see you addressing that in your program.
Yeah, and I liked, because I think on some level, unfortunately, the word bullying is can be overused because now everyone is a bully. As soon as someone says something that isn't nice, it's like, "Oh, you're bullying me." So getting them to understand that actually bullying isn't just one time; it's it's constant. It's multiple times. There's a pattern behind it, and so um, having them understand that so they can see the difference between, oh, someone was just not nice to me on the playground today, but it only happened that one time, it might not be bullying. But if it happens repeatedly, okay, there's a pattern there. And that's when I can say, oh, this is probably bullying. But also understanding why people bully too.
Yeah, you're really planting a lot of seeds and encouraging a lot of deep, deep emotional intelligence in girls.
Yeah, that's the goal.
An amazing goal to
Thank
nurture
you.
and support young girls. Wow, it can change the whole world.
Yeah.
Kim, I wanted to just open it up and just allow you to sort of share a golden nugget or a healing truth about human life or about what it means to be a girl growing into a woman. Open the floor up to you before we close to speak your truth.
Yeah. So the biggest thing, so in my own healing journey, going through therapy and life coaching, the biggest thing that I learned, which propelled me into the unhealthy relationship as a teenage girl, was emotional needs and recognizing what is actually within my control. And so I really emphasize with the girls in various sessions of Girl Talk emotional needs. So the joke is now that my 12-year-old is like a junior life coach in training because she can tell you all about the emotional needs. And she sometimes riding home from school, she'll say, so and so was misbehaving in band. Was that their need for significance? Probably. And so she's like, well, I'm going to tell them. I'm like, no, you don't tell them. You ask permission first before you offer help to anyone. You don't just put your help onto them. She's like, oh, okay, right. But I really want girls to understand the emotional needs because when we know those emotional needs, then we can meet them for ourselves instead of waiting for someone else to meet them. So there are 6. I didn't create them. They were created by Tony Robbins and a psychiatrist. And I feel bad because I never can remember her name. But there are 4 primary needs and 2 fulfillment needs. So the 4 primary needs, we need like air, food, water, sleep. And it's love and connection, significance, certainty, and uncertainty. And we will do whatever it takes to get those needs met, even violating our values. The fulfillment needs are growth and contribution. We will not violate values to get those needs met. But I want the girls to understand those needs through and through, because if they know those needs, they can start developing ways to meet them for themselves and not rely so much on external validation. But it also gives insight to parents too as to why girls or boys, children do what they do. It's the same thing for us as adults. Like, out in public, I can see if someone's, having road rage, they're either not feeling, it's too much uncertainty for them, they're not feeling in control. And so really the emotional needs drive our behavior. And so I really hammer that home with the girls in each session and just in various forms in different ways, because I want them to have such a thorough understanding so they can really not rely on external validation, but internal validation as they're like, I can do this for myself. And then external validation is just an added bonus.
Amazing. Kim, if anyone wanted to reach out to you and connect with you, you have a very flourishing and full coaching practice beyond this girl empowerment program. What would be the very best way to reach you?
So I'm open to emails, so they can email me through my website, but I'm also on Instagram and Facebook, so they could always shoot me an instant message or a direct message on Instagram or Facebook as well.
Okay, and what is your website?
My website is kimkeen.com.
Amazing. Thank you for joining me today.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. It's been lovely.
All right, all the best, Kim. And until next time, thank you for joining Healing Broken Families Hope Filled Highlight. I'm Barbara Lapointe.